Hey everyone, how's it going? In this video, let's take a look at how we can sound like Korn. Now, if you've seen my other videos before, you know that I'm a huge nu metal fan. So I thought, let's take a look at the OGs of nu metal and see how we can get a track to sound like that. And in particular, let's take a look at how we can get something to sound like the album Follow the Leader. Starting off, let's talk about the guitars. Now obviously Korn were the forerunners of 7-string guitars and down tuning. So over here we got a 7-string that is tuned down to A standard. Now let's talk about the guitar tone and the type of riffs and styles that we're going to be playing. Now for the guitar tone, Korn are big fans of Mesa boogies and dual rectifiers, and what I want to use, which I think is really an underrated amp sim or amp suite, is Overloud's THU. So I think they've got a really good Mesa in here. So this is the modern channel 3. I've loaded this up with the matched cab with an SM57 style mark on the cone over here. I've got it on the modern switch over here, dialed up the drive, pulled back slightly on the bass and the mid, and then pushed the treble and presence up. And what we've got now is this guitar tone. Now when it comes to the main riff, Korn really like using dissonance in their chord progressions. So what better way than using some tritones? So I've got these chords over here, and then I'm also going to use some chromatic movements. So it's like this. Now Korn also use a lot of fuzz, so what I've loaded up here before this is an instance of Authority's Big Goat, which is an emulation of the Big Muff. So I've dialed back on the volume, pushed up the tone, and pushed the sustain all the way up to get more sustain from the sound. Now, what Korn also like to do is use whammy effects. So over here with that same riff, I've added in a whammy in the form of THU's whammy, and I'm using it to throw it up to give that sort of pitched effect of an octave higher while playing the riff. So I'm going to play it back so you can hear it in action. So if we take a look at this guitar track and the automation, I've got this transpose lane here, and as you can see, I'm throwing it up there to get that octave effect on the whammy. Now, if you don't have a whammy or a whammy plugin, another thing to do is to go into your clip, cut the section out that you want to pitch up, and then shift it up with the clip. And I've done the same thing on this side over here. So I've got the guitar riff over here, but if you right click on this clip that I cut out, you can see that I've transposed it up 12 semitones. Now I found that both ways work pretty well, so just use what works for you. Then after this, I've just added a post EQ where I've cut out some of the lows, shelved off some of the highs, and a slight dip over here at 400 Hz. Now let's talk about the drums. So obviously with Korn and the rise of nu metal, there was a big push on the elements of groove. So I want to go for a drum pattern that has a lot of groove, and obviously their drummer at the time, David Silverio, hit his kit really hard and had some very interesting fill ideas. So I've got this drum groove that's going to go over the guitar riff. Now let's get into Fieldy's style of bass playing and his bass tone. Now obviously his bass style is very percussive, but the tone actually plays a huge role in that as well. Actually with his tone, there's a lot of bass that's pushed and a lot of treble that's pushed, giving you a very scoop tone, and you add his percussive style playing onto that and you get that Fieldy tone. So over here, I've got this bass part that's very percussive, and the starting point is going to be a bass sim. And I'm using the Ampeg SVT by Brainworks that's emulating an Ampeg. I'm using the second channel, and if you look here, I've boosted the treble and the bass quite a bit, and also enabled the ultra high and ultra low. So it sounds like this. And then in front of this bass amp, I'm using an instance of Neural's Dark Glass. I've bypassed the speaker cab section, so I'm using it sort of like a preamp distortion pedal going into the bass amp. So if you take a look here, I've pushed up the bass and the treble, scooped out the mids, but then with this distortion section, I'm using this to add saturation and distortion to the bass. So I'm going to play it back with this blend down and then dial it back in so you can hear the blend of saturation with the sound. Then after this, I've added in some compression just to even out some of the dynamics. And then finally a post EQ, but with this EQ, I've also pushed up the bass slightly, pushed a bit more of the treble up, scooped out the mids, and now we've got this for the bass. Now let's jump back to the guitars. On the next section, I want to show you how you get that sort of wacky modulated sounds that they use in their songs. So over here, I've got an instance of THU. It's using the Mesa again, this time using the raw channel, and I've got a whole string of effects before it. So let me just turn these off and then show you what I've added in. So this is just the simple guitar tone without any of the effects. Then I'm adding in some chorus. This is going into a hall reverb. Then after this, it goes into a phaser where I've pushed the speed quite high, also the depth, and then mixed it in quite high. And then finally, a delay effect that's going to repeat that sort of phased out sound. Then with this second guitar part over here, I've also used some crazy effects. With the amp, I've pushed a bit more overdrive into it. So we're using the vintage channel here on that Mesa, and then it's also going into a chorus, hall reverb, and a phaser, and it sounds like this. So you can hear a lot of influence there from It's On and Follow the Leader. And I've got an extra guitar track here where I've used more distortion, some fuzz, and some pitched effects. So this one sounds like this. And as you can see, if I just go into the clip, I've got these parts here, but this one has been transposed up 12 semitones. So now let's take a listen to everything, the drums, the bass, and these new guitar parts. So I'm just going to create a cycle area over here and play back. If you take a listen to the bass, we've got this percussive bass over here. And for the final section on the song over here with the riffs and the drums and the bass, I've got this section that sounds like Freak on Alicia's chorus. So we've got those big guitar chords and then some phased guitar going over that. So this sounds like this. Now, another thing I want to show with the bass is how it adds such a percussive quality to the music. So I'm going to go to the sort of end chorus section over here. I'm going to play it back without the bass and then introduce the bass, and you'll hear what a difference that sort of Fieldy style percussive bass adds to the production. So take a listen over here. I'm going to mute the bass. And then add it in. Mute it again. And add it in again. Now let's jump into some Jonathan Davis style vocals. Now I'm not going to say I sound like Jonathan Davis, but I did give it a bash, and let's take a listen at the sort of style of vocals that he uses and how you can use these in a Korn style song. Now Jonathan Davis uses a combination of harsh compressed vocals with your sort of nasally clean vocals. So over here, I've got some harsh vocals combined with some nasal vocals, and it sounds like this.
You've got this itch you wanna scratch. You follow me. You don't get what you want. I'll never let it follow.
So you can hear that harsh vocal there combined with the nasal vocals. And then I've added in this more ambienty vocal over here that uses some extra saturation and some phasing, and it sounds like this. So you can hear that phasing over there and that modulation, and that's because I'm using a phaser over here and a tremolo pedal. Now another technique of Jonathan Davis and his singing is a sort of scat-like singing style, where you got this sort of gibberish talking that he does that incorporates some sort of harsh vocals and that scat-like type quality. So let's take a look here at a type of vocal that I came up with this section. So that's me sort of interpreting that sort of scat-like quality that Jonathan Davies does on his vocals. And what I really like about it is the sort of percussive nature of it. So if you're thinking about all the other instruments in a Korn song, you've got the bass that's quite percussive, you've got the grooves of the drums, and then you've got the scatting vocal that adds an extra quality of percussion to the tracks. Then going into the chorus vocals over here, what I've got is some harsh vocals doubled up with some clean vocals. So we've got the harsh vocals that sound like this.
You can't sing this song to me.
And then I've layered this up with some clean vocals that sound like this.
You can't sing this song to me.
Now I'm going to play them back together, now layered together, but I've also got some nasally Jonathan style Davies vocals over here after it as well. So it sounds like this.
You can't sing this song to me. I can sing it back.
Okay, so now you got an idea on the guitar riff styles, the guitar tone, the percussive bass and the bass tone, the types of drum grooves, and then finally the Jonathan Davies style vocals with some harsh vocals and some nasally cleans. Now let's take a listen to the playthrough of this song with all of those elements together. So that's my take on how to sound like Korn, and in particular how to sound like something that came off Follow the Leader. So I hope I came close there, and also I hope you found some helpful techniques on how to incorporate some of these own things into your riffs and songs. Now, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, if you're new to the channel or if you haven't already, click on that subscribe button, and also don't forget to click on that notification bell to be notified of future videos. I'll catch you in the next one.